Welcome to our February 2025 edition of our Kentucky K-12 CIOs and EdTech Leaders webcast. I'm David Couch with the Kentucky Department of Education. For those that are new, this is something we do every month. We give an update of certain things going on around the nation and in our state, and also get a chance to get feedback from districts. So we have a agenda today of several items. I sent you yesterday the summary of last month, which was primarily our meeting with Go Guardian. Also had on there the demo. So if you did not get a chance to look at the demo of Go Guardian, within those summary notes is a link that you can watch that. I think you got to fast forward to the 9 or 10 minute mark, right, to start watching that. So I encourage you to get familiar with that. So let's first of all talk about events that are not on the calendar or on the agenda. Is the floods that have recently impacted districts in our state. And we have some that actually one district I know, Pike County Schools, is shut down, which is a very large school district for an unforeseen amount of time. I mean, there's roads that have been washed out. I know up in Elkhorn Creek area that elementary school up there, the road has been washed out. Now, Pikeville Independent was also impacted by the area. And obviously, having grown up in Eastern Kentucky, I'm familiar with all those areas that I saw, and they're now impacted by it. So, so far, it looks good as far as the internet access to the schools in those areas. And we know that during disasters, whether it be flood or tornadoes, they serve as a place for people to come to when they're in need, when their own places where they live or stay have been impacted by that. And I suspect that's what's going on there now in some kind of capacity. So that's a good thing that schools do for community members during times of trouble. And obviously having internet access to those locations will be helpful to them as well as they serve in that capacity. For the parents and the students of those parents have been impacted by it. Also the staff. You have staff that's probably also had homes impacted by that. We wish all of them well, as hopefully now the water is starting to recede, and now the tough work of cleanup starts. But also now we have really cold weather coming in, and you have that combination of homes that have been impacted where their power is off. They're dealing with the flooding that's receding, and now they're dealing with really cold weather without power. So please keep all of them in your mind and help with whatever you can in that capacity. Obviously, we're trying to play a role in that. I know the Commissioner Fletcher has had discussions with the superintendents in that area, and having discussions about what it means for NTI, getting the extension of NTI days. Obviously, he's also having to meet with legislators about that and how it works with attendance. Obviously, given with COVID, where we are used to and accustomed to operating in a virtual environment in the short term, it can definitely be done very effectively, but not as well as obviously as in person. But definitely this will be an option for those folks to continue on. But districts only get so many NTI days. And so the discussion is, can there be an extension of that or something else done? And the commissioners having a discussion with legislators about that. So for those that are impacted by that, your superintendent is well aware of that. The next topic we have is we have some what I call VIP guests, special guests that are visiting with us today. Now, we didn't get the full suite of VIP guests because of the weather, the floods, and so we'll make sure we spend time recognizing them in the future. But they are here today with us, and we'd like to recognize those special guests. So, Marty, can you take us through that journey with our special guests?
Yeah, awesome. So anytime we get to be live in school districts, it's a special day for us. And anytime our school district partners and leaders get to come to the Kentucky Department of Education, that's also a special day for us. So we have the special of the special, the VIP of all VIP with us. And so I'm going to get to share with the state team. Welcome, everyone. How are we doing, Jeff? Jeff, who do we have with?
Dr. Park, thanks for joining us. Thanks for everybody who's given us some time online. Today, we have with us here in Frankfurt at the Kentucky Department of Education, Office of the Technology, we have your very own STLP Engineer Ambassador team. Wave hi, everybody. Here we have just our student leaders who we kind of consider them to be a little bit of the pinnacle of what STLP is all about. They all have extraordinary technology skills, but also some amazing leadership skills in different capacities in different areas. We have some technical folks. We have some folks that are very social media friendly, media production friendly. We have some folks who are going to be our best speakers. We have some folks that have all sorts of skill sets. So we're just pumped to have everybody here. And I thought if we could, and as David, as you mentioned, we do have a few of them who couldn't be in the room with us. We do have them online on another computer, but we'll make sure we give them a big high five. But while we have everybody here, if we could just real fast, we thought we would shoot around the room because we wanted to make sure that you all know who these students are. I know that if they're from your district, you're fully aware that they're here, and probably thank you so much for helping them get here. That's a huge help to us to make sure that these folks got a chance to get to KDE today, but also, well, I'll say that for a little bit of a wrap up, but we'll start right over here with Grayson.
My name is Grayson Cox. I am a junior at South Warren High School, and this is my first year at STLP.
I'm May Quinn Gillum. I'm a junior at Floyd Central High School.
My name is Casey Malone. I am a senior at Russell Independent High School in Russell, Kentucky.
I'm Saria Rasuli. I'm a senior at Warren Central High School from Warren County.
I'm Natalia Galza. I'm a freshman at Assumption High School in Louisville.
I'm Emily Dennis. I'm a junior from Virginia High School. I'm Brooke McDuffie. I'm from Kenton County, and I'm a senior at Dixie Heights High School.
I'm Truman Gilbert. I'm a senior at Eminence High School and Eminence Independent, so that's District 4, if you care.
I'm Kylie Castle, and I'm a junior at Jonathan Central High School.
I'm Marlena Weiss, and I'm at Warren Central High School, senior.
We also have online with us, we have Landon and Langdon, who are also from Metcalfe County, and we also have Bregan, who's from Webster County. So they are again joining us online. So the folks in the room, how many of you are returning STLP Engineer Ambassadors? Okay, so we've got a few folks who are our alumni, who kind of are not really alumni, but veterans who are back for year 2. These folks will play a big role. Number one, we love to pull them together. Today's their first meeting together. So this is their first time meeting each other, the first time in a room. So it's an exciting day, some nerves and some fun games just to get to know each other. But also we're going to take advantage of having their brains together in the room to help us get a little bit more, to help them get a little bit more familiar with some of the initiatives that we've got going on statewide so that we can pull in some of that student perspective that will help us get a little bit better understanding from a student perspective, what we're doing with things like cues and the GoGuardian implementation, et cetera, how that impacts students, and they can give us some feedback that will help guide us along the way. Also, you're going to see them when you're at KISTE. Next month, we'll be at the conference for the week. We thank the KISTE board for inviting us every year to provide tech support or whatever support we can provide. So you'll see the students running around everywhere we can go. And also, while we've got you, 2 last things. Number one, a big special thank you to this guy. Introduce yourself.
I'm Jim Seward. I'm the Director of Technology for Bellevue Independent.
And Jim has been helping us for years. He is we'll call him the STLP EA mentor, who has been sort of a great papa bear for all of our EAs and been really great at pulling everybody together. So we appreciate Jim being here. We appreciate Bellevue letting us borrow him for the day and for all the other events. But also, now here's the big question that I know that you're interested in is how do you get students in your district to be STLP engineers? So next year, as soon as the school year starts, we'll release the application packet for new and interested students. And with our dates, and I think last year we had the due date for them to submit their application was the end of October, and we went through a pretty rigorous selection process. There's a lot of great students to choose from. Out of the hundreds that we had apply, here's the best of the best, and we're pumped to have them. So yeah, so thank you, David. Thanks for giving us a little bit of time, and we're anxious to learn as much as we can to share what we can.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'll be down to visit you all here in just a little bit. Looking forward to that. Thanks for joining us here today.
Awesome. David, back to you.
So next item on the agenda is talking about finances. And I wanted to share with you what I shared with the Kentucky Board of Education last week. And also it's related to when our Commissioner Fletcher shared with legislators last week as well. So previously, our Kentucky Board of Education ranked our additional budget request for the Kentucky Education Technology System, KETS, as their 6th top priority last year. Currently, KETS has $15.4 million annually, and our additional budget request is to raise it by $14.6 million annually for a total of $30 million annually. So that's the ask. So what I do is I give folks some background on the topic. And I know, like I say, last week when I was with the commissioner with some new legislators here in Frankfurt, he presented his top priorities for funding in a handout that he gave out. And the KET system, the Kentucky Education Technology System additional budget request of $14.6 million is 5th on his list of priorities. The other priorities ahead of it are numeracy counts, ACT, professional development, read to succeed, literacy coaches is number 2, universal preschool is number 3, high quality instructional resources is number 4, the Kentucky Education Technology System is number 5, full day kindergarten is number 6, and school safety is number 7. And those are the 7 top ones that he is handing out. And as he meets with legislators, even in that meeting, he was talking about KETS with him, but on just the handouts. So that's good news that our commissioner is working that hard. And by the way, he is really working hard with legislators, more so than I can think of anybody that we've ever had in that role that's working one-on-one with legislators. He's done it in a short period of time. So he's really trying to get the message out and also create a relationship with them, which will be helpful for education beyond KETS in a lot of different ways. So I know he's working that hard and having results with that. So what I presented to the board is why are we asking for that budget increase? Now, the Kentucky Education Technology System was birthed in 1992 as part of the Education Reform Act. And there's been a few things that have happened since 1992. But the other thing, as I share with folks, is we've been great stewards of taxpayer funds since 1992. But during that same amount of time, we've had $11 million of annual cuts to the Office of Education Technology budget. At the same time, we've had $4.5 million of cost of living increases that we've not got $1 for. So since 1992, think about anything of the price of 1992, of the price of it in 2025, nothing has remained the same. So what that means is we've lost about $4.5 million because we just had to eat that cost and not got a cost living increase to pay the increases in cost. So the combination of $11 million of cuts plus $4.5 million of cost living increase, makes it very tough times for us to keep on doing the outstanding things we've been doing. And Kentucky is known as the pioneer national leader in nearly every aspect of education technology. But as I told the board, my 4 children are not complainers. They never were complainers, especially when they had some kind of physical injury or illness. But whenever I heard them go owie, as a dad, I knew that was serious because they never complained. And it always turned out to be something serious if they even did an owie because they just toughed it out. So I told the board it's very rare that I go to the Board of Education and ask for money. We try to do the best we can with what we have. But in this case, I'm doing owie, for me doing owie, because we need funds. And it should be very, it should make an impression on them that I don't have, supposed to never ask for more money. And we're at the point that we're needing more money. So we've had $11 million in cuts, and they're just not picking on KETS, by the way. Those are Department of Education has sustained cuts since 1992. We took a big portion of those cuts since that time. We have $2.3 million of items that we've already identified that we don't have a funding source to continue funding them unless something comes up to fund them. And we have identified that we also want to do something about increasing the KET's financial offers of assistance. And these are funds that we send to districts, they match equally, that they buy, purchase technology. Currently, it offers $21 per student. And we would like to get it back up to what it once was, is $25 and $30 per student. And that would take $1.8 million annually to do that, to bring it up to 25, and $4.3 million annually to being up 30, because you all also facing times where things have not remained the same since 1992. You have to refresh your technology. You have cost of living increases and the people side of technology. So I presented that to the board as well. Let me get to some specifics about the cuts itself. So we've identified $2.3 million. You've heard me talk about these before. It's not because we don't think these are worthy. We just don't have the money to do them or do both things at the same time. And everyone in their personal life reaches a point to say, I can't have this and this. I gotta make a choice. So these aren't fun choices for us to have to make through the years that we've had to make them. The Kentucky Virtual Library does wonderful things for schools across the state. And that's been identified as a $700,000 a year expense that we've already identified that unless we get funding for it, it will be stopped. The funding for that will be stopped. You've heard me talk about the virus protection. That's another item that was identified as $400,000 a year, that funding will go in effect to be stopped. And none of these are immediate. These are right here on we've identified ways to extend this funding for a period of time. What we're giving folks a heads up is we can no longer fund these. $1.2 million for Microsoft Active Directory. We no longer have the funds to pay for, and we're using the funds from Microsoft for Active Directory and virus protection, plus a few other things to pay for the connected user experience. You can't have both the connected user experience and have this. We had to make a choice, dealing with the budget that we had and the cuts that we have sustained. The other new part that I shared with the board, there's been $8 million worth of new services. I don't think I mentioned that before. I should have mentioned that a little bit earlier. Yeah, $8 million. That should have been part of my $8 million of new services that have happened since 1992. So we've taken an $11 million cut annually. We've taken a $4.5 million cut because we've had to absorb the cost of living. But there's been $8 million worth of new things that have been birthed since 1992. And a good number of those are required by law. By the way, we didn't get additional funding to put those in place. They said, just do it with the money that you have. And with all that combination, you start running into the OWI situation is decisions will have to be made. And this is what I presented to the board, is we really have just two decisions that'll be made with all the items that I'm listing here. Either we no longer do them at all. Definitely don't start doing new ones. We no longer don't do them. That's option one. So we talked about a couple of these. No longer doing a virus protection is one of those. That's an example of one of those. Active Directory, another example of that. Or number two, we have to shift any increase in cost to another KD office, Kentucky Department of Education office. And I got to tell you, there's no one looking forward to saying, okay, we'll take up that and we'll help pay for that. And I'll give you some examples of that. Or we have to start shifting that cost to school districts. And this is the key component, that when you're talking, and I really am asking you to talk with your superintendent and chief financial officer, because these are things just not shifting the cost to you, but they're going to cost you significantly more because you don't get the bulk discounts that we get. So I know you're aware at the district level, if you buy something on behalf of all your schools, you pay less than the individual school typically buying themselves. It's called buying in bulk. It's a 101 type of economic kind of thing. Buy a certain thing in mass in a certain period of time typically drives down the cost. So we do the same thing at the state level. We buy certain things at mass for the entire state, which typically significantly reduce the cost if districts were to buy that individually. We usually save 50 to 60%, in some cases 100% in what districts would cost districts to pay for it. So for example, we say the costs are coming our way for example, Infinite Campus online registration. Not only will that cost come to you, you're going to pay double what we pay, double. So that's the discount that we get by buying it at a state level. Same thing happens with the virus protection. Same thing happens with Munis, for example. We're to part with Munis. There's a cost of living increase every year for Munis. It's been a wonderful product. And we get, if you, in comparison to the rest of the United States, what we pay per individual for that product is tremendous discount compared to what other states pay for a similar type of product or the same product, because we're buying it in mass. We have reached a point to where our OET budget can no longer pay for these cost of living increases. So either another KD office has to pay for that, which they got their own additional budget request, by the way, or that cost is shifted to districts, which you will be paying more than what we pay. So the cost, when you're discussing with your CFO, is just not the cost will be shifted to you all. You'll be paying significantly more than what we pay because we get the bulk discount. I think that's an important teaching point for them. Other parts that have happened through the course of time, the school report card is a federal requirement. We got $0 in OET to put that in place. We have reached the point of needing either money identified for that or shifting the cost to someone else to pay for that service. Infinite Campus is something that we never got funding for at the state level. The ongoing cost, the legislature funded the initial cost, but not the ongoing cost for us. And that's been a cost, for example, the $1.5 million. Every year we present this to you all in the August timeframe, what we present to the board. And because we got no money for it, we had to take it out of high from something else. And where we've been taking it from is our E-rate rebates. Typically, you all get every dollar for E-rate rebate or a very high percentage of it. But because no other funding source was found and no other part of the department would help us pay for it or had the money to pay for it, is we've had to pay that $1.5 million out of the rebates, which we always show very upfront and very transparently. We would like to get funding instead through KETS for that $1.5 million and give that $1.5 million that we normally take and out of the rebates and give that to you as well. We already give a big chunk of that money to you. But that's always been the proposal. It's not a good method. You don't count on your tax returns to pay for a crucial service every year. In essence, that's what we've been doing with the E-rate funds, with you all know the unpredictability of getting those in. We've had to move to that since we weren't funded for that ongoing. So we're asking for that going forward. E-transcripts is a really nice service that allows students. Right now, we have students sitting here in the tower, and so I'm going to be anxious to go and meet with them. But what we started putting in place about a decade ago, maybe 15 years ago, you have to remind me of the date, was a way through Infinite Campus and through what universities had, a way for students to quickly and digitally have their transcripts sent to the universities versus on paper, like I had to do when I was a student, which we were still doing up to the point that we did e-transcripts. So these are digitally sent to the universities, which means they get them back quicker, making the decision to the students, have you been approved or not approved? So that's a really great thing that we do. Plus, it costs the students nothing. Previously, you got to send maybe X number at no cost, but now, especially for lower income students, it's at no cost to them. Well, we've been absorbing that cost 100%. And we did have another organization help us pay for that. They dropped out. And right now it's between, as far as our Kentucky State Agency, is we pay for 100% here in KDE and universities help pay for that. But we've reached a point that we can no longer pay for the cost of living increases to that, which those products all have. So we're faced with the choice of ending the service or having someone else pay. These are all the unfun choices we have. I talked about online registration. That's $800,000 a year. It really took off during COVID, and people have really liked that cost. We have the money to pay for that through March of 2026. After that time frame, and Dee says she keeps on getting calls about how's the money work. I don't want to have to say this every time, but just put this on loop. The money pays for it till the March of 2026. The districts will be responsible at this time for paying that cost for the rest of that academic year and going forward unless we get money here to put that in place. I see Infinite Campus, campus learning, $700,000 a year, the same type of situation. But the IT Academy that we have Sean Jackson, Marty Park, part of, and many other people, these provide students They have career pathways, a variety of career pathways, but definitely in computer science. A way to get credentials that are marketable in the workforce immediately. Don't have to even wait for graduation. IT credentials. That got cut, by the way, by 50,000. We've been dealing with 700,000 a year. Now we've reached the max capacity of it. We have so many people, so many students wanting that service. We're at the point of having to say no. And we don't like to have to say no. But now students are wanting to get those certifications, and we've reached the maximization unless we get another $250,000 a year to help pay for that growth over time. So a lot of part of the budget that I'm talking about is helping us restore some of these massive cuts that we've had, helping us deal with these new services, but also help us deal with some growth and cost of living going forward. Obviously, STLP was started back in '94. And that cost us about $500,000 a year to provide that service. Those are all new services since 1992 that we did not receive an additional money for to put in place. And obviously, we know the added value of all those types of things that we have. And I've already talked about the CAT's offer of assistance. I know, Marty, you're going to talk about this here in a little bit, is we need your all's assistance. And you all are just not OET. We're out there championing it, our commissioners out there championing it, but you will have to have a discussion, you folks in the districts, with your CFOs and superintendents to support this, and our vendor partners that are watching. You can play a role in this as well to help us get this on the radar screen of legislators. And once again, that's part of the CIO Summit topics. We're talking about who are all the people that can help us. We have gotten close a couple of times. But stepped over at the last second for something else, that has got their attention, or whatever the reasons are. We've gotten close, but we want to get it across the finish line here the next time. And we're really at a point now where we don't have a choice, where we can ask. I could probably have done 16 additional budget requests. And really, I made one, and I say, just choose the ones out of that 14.6 you don't want to do, and we'll lower it. But no one wants to make that choice, by the way. I go, I can make 16 individual ones, or I have one. Just point me to the ones we're going to scratch out that the district's we're no longer going to do, or the district's going to start paying for it and paying double, 50% or 50% or 100% more than what we currently pay for at the state level. So that's what I went in depth with the Kentucky Board of Education. It really is what I go in depth with when we talk with legislators. But we're at the point where we need assistance beyond OET and beyond KDE. And that's why I mentioned to you about this, by having a real discussion about the importance of your superintendent and your chief financial officer supporting this when they're discussing this topic with legislators, along with our vendor partners. What roles can they play in helping us, as well as get this on the radar screen? Because we know those two things is, we don't, and the KDE agency doesn't have lobbyists. We're not permitted to have lobbyists. And so that really hurts us in the time of budget requests when you're trying to get it beyond the commissioner and even me trying to do it. So we do know from past history, success comes from you all asking for it and other people working on legislators, the pluses of it. Obviously, we're working on our board members. We'll be working on the governor's office, but we need everyone to help us with that effort. Mike, I'll let you go into the topic of, I don't ever expect a standing ovation with this topic, but it's more informational, that you have to understand the real. It's kind of like sitting around the dining room table, is sitting around the real finances of how things work, and why certain things stop being available because either there are cuts happening or cost of living happening and not being addressed.
So David, I just have a quick moment here to remind folks of a couple of things. I will just make the comment, nothing you didn't already say, but it takes everybody involved in this conversation, and everybody certainly that should be on this call to educate and communicate. And I use the word educate for sure, to educate folks on the impact and the consequences of not taking action on these things. So educate and communicate. Takes everybody to be involved in that. So just real quickly, and again, it's just a real quick, the second offers of assistance will begin in March to satisfy that $21 per ADA this year that David mentioned. So we'll begin those second rounds of offers of assistance in March, which will be $9. The first one was $12, again, to to complete the $21 per ADA offers of assistance this year. And then I real quickly just wanted to remind folks, and I'm certainly hopeful everybody's on top of this, of the upcoming application window closing for E-rate of March 26th. And I'm hopeful everybody's well in motion of making sure that they're prepared to do those applications. It continues to be of significant importance that we maximize the federal E-rate funding program. And again, that's not a new conversation. I'm confident everybody is on top of that and aware of that, but just reminding everybody that date. And if you do need assistance, guidance, got questions, be sure to reach out through your CATS regional engineer, or if you need to directly contact us one way or another, make sure you bring to our attention if you need assistance, guidance, or help to make sure you're maximizing that program. That's all I had on that, David.
Thanks, Mike. Next up, we have an update on our GoGuard implementation, as we spent a lot of time on this last webcast, but it's constantly in motion and changing. I know here in the agency is where we pilot a little bit here in our Office of Education Technology. We're getting ready to go full bore with it here. Then the rest of the department will be done next Tuesday. So Jody, what update would you like to provide to the audience?
Yeah, I appreciate it, David. I look forward to seeing those notes for the budgetary conversation there. I think that if we arm our folks with the right information to speak from, you've certainly given a level of detail that's appreciated when you try to have those conversations. I'll try to address a couple of questions that I know districts will have as part of the GoGuardian implementation. Maybe not with direct answers, but just so you'll kind of know where we are in the process. I know a lot of districts want to know when am I going to transition? When will I go? Right. And that's something we're working through. And the first step in that was to get all those implementation forms submitted. So a big thank you, first of all, to all the school districts for getting those turned in a timely fashion. It's not lost on me that we have a lot of things that we ask of school districts, both the standardized reports and then these one-off things that come up, things like registering for the summit, for example. We're going to talk about KISTI just a little bit. So there's a lot of things that we ask of you, and we got those turned in from every school district in a timely fashion. Appreciate that. Probably pretty sensible that you would agree that we're going to work with the ones that indicated that they were willing to transition ASAP. That was about 40 or so school districts. We'll then work with the ones that indicated no preference, another 30 to 40 or so. And that leaves a good half of the state probably that said, let's hold off till after the testing window completes. And so we haven't done anything with that last group yet, but that first group, we're starting to kind of queue those up in batches or waves or cohorts or things like that. But we really don't know exactly when an individual district is going to go yet, because we need to see how long it's going to take with some of these initial ones. And we'll talk about that in just a second. Honestly, when you go, depends a little bit on the other question that you're going to ask is how long is it going to take for us to transition? And we're going to learn the answer to that too in the coming weeks. David's kind of touched on some of the things that we're dealing with in the department. We're kind of phasing that in, eating our own dog food's the analogy he loves to use here, but we've been refining documentation and working on the readiness guide and things like that and following those steps. And, as you might guess, one of the things that comes up is the need to reboot a workstation when you make changes at a base operating system level, like uninstalling and installing some of these apps and extensions and things like that. And so we're trying to figure out how best to time that. That's something that you will deal with too in the school districts when you're trying to transition over. But the how long will it take? I mean, part of that is going to depend on GoGuardian and various training opportunities that we have, and part of it's going to depend on things that maybe you can control at the district level, not only your knowledge and comfort level with the product, but how long it takes to export and import, configuration files and get policy set. Some of the other things with deploying the apps and extensions in your own school district. If you roll with that very quickly and you're willing to maybe reboot every device in one evening, like you could go a lot further than someone maybe that wants to phase that in. So even the how long it's going to take is going to vary a little bit from school district to school district, because there's steps that you have to take, obviously, to be truly complete with a transition like this. So I touched on the past week or two, been a lot of technical discovery, trying to finalize some of the answers to some of the questions that were asked on the initial admin demo, the work in the department that we touched on. David's kind of said we're working through some things at the division and office level, eventually getting that rolled out as well. But that's not going to stop GoGuardian from going ahead and reaching out to this initial group of 12 pilot districts. And in fact, if all goes as planned, those 12 districts will receive a communication today. The way that's going to work, and it's critical for all of you to know this, the Go Guardian, several of our partners do this nowadays where they'll send an email with some timelines, a calendar, basically a calendar invite within the email saying you book a time to schedule a meeting. And so that'll be the initial conversation that the school district would book with Go Guardian. So be on the lookout from that. Certainly with the 12, to look on that and who that'll be coming from. The others, as we move further along with those 12, we'll kind of have districts queued up right now, maybe in groups of 10 districts or so. We'll see how quickly we need to progress. That may be fewer, that may be more, depending on how that all goes. But so that work's been going on. I know that we've touched on the release of a digital resource room that is imminent. It is a matter of just simply finalizing some of the questions for the FAQ, getting the readiness guide close enough that it'll either be posted immediately or soon thereafter. And so I've seen drafts of that. That is not vaporware. That is going to be released soon. That'll be a single clearinghouse where we've got project documents, recordings to the past one that David mentioned, as well as maybe ones that we're going to have in the future, and other project artifacts. I will say too, regarding the training, one of the we did kind of the broad brush admin demo a few weeks ago. We've talked about, and we'll probably soon be scheduling another one where maybe we go a little deeper as a statewide kind of a virtual event, get into some of the things maybe with DNS and guest type devices and how that's dealt with, some of the smart alerts, things that we're asked about. But then there'll also be a part where when we get into individual district implementations, some conversations you need to have one-on-one with Go Guardian about your one-off situations. There may be other trainings that we can conduct more in an asynchronous way where we have a pre-recorded event that you could watch, or we have something where maybe we have recurring meetings at a given time. Think about the way that we did the trainings with the multi-factor authentication, where we had weekly events. We might do something every other week or so. Again, we're working out all the exact details based on what we think we're going to need there. But a lot of activity taking place. And again, that group of 12 are going to be working closely with us to help refine that documentation. That's not just you get to go first. Those 12 are going to have an additional role to help us make sure that the documents that we're planning to provide are accurate and are helpful to districts as they transition.
Thanks, Jody. Just a reminder for folks, we spent time last webcast. I know we have some students joining us today that 1998, there was a law that started requiring internet safety and security for students and adults. That also led to federal legislation called the Child Internet Protection Act that requires internet content management system be on place of school provided computers and school district or KD provided internet services. Which has led to us getting Lightspeed for that Microsoft proxy, then Lightspeed, now the transition from Lightspeed to Go Guardian. Just some of the things that we've just learned, Jody, in my discussions, I was asking how long does it take? And what's the best technique? Do you write something to give people the choice of at a certain time? It just doesn't hit them. Given the aggressive time frame we're on, we're not going to write something special. We're just we have an all KD meeting, and we have it next Tuesday. I've also weeks prior educated the KD, all the leadership and KD leader, and asked them to educate and make their staff aware of it. So what we're going to do is say right after the all KD meeting, say a couple of things is, first of all, leave your computer on. Secondly is make sure it's connected to the internet. It doesn't do any good if it's not connected to the internet. So you got to tell them, and then make sure it's not on standby or goes to sleep. So you have all those there, and I'm told that on average it would take, if everyone kept all their stuff updated, it takes about 5 minutes to remove a Lightspeed and 5 minutes to put Go Guardian on. If they've not done an update in a while and they pushed them off, then when you're doing this, it could add that time, 15 or 20 minutes, whatever it is, to load them on. So it really depends on it. So we're going to give them the option of, after it's over, like from 5 p.m., to the next morning at 6 a.m. is, to leave it on. But the next time they log in, if they don't do it during that window of time, the next time they're logging in, it does it whether they like it or not. And so, for example, for a meeting like this, if someone shows up 5 minutes beforehand, which always drives me nuts with people, they're trying to get it all there. They show up 1 minute beforehand and they're trying to get everything to work. They're going to find out it doesn't work because they got a 5 or 20 minute upgrade they got to go through. I noticed the question, and Marty's responded to the question on cost. our focus with this was the admin. That was the focus of driving down the cost of purchasing a certain period of time. The other optional ones were optional. And we talked about, teacher, but this is a good teaching point, what I was talking about earlier. If we were to buy teacher at the state level, which by the way, we don't have the money to do, but if we did, the company was willing to drop their price. They would have dropped their price. There's no doubt about it. But we don't have the money to buy the optional parts, just like this is a good teaching point for the other things I was talking about, as buying in bulk at the state level and we transition it over, you all will pay significantly more than that. So we talked about the teacher part because we didn't have the leverage of KD, the agency will buy that on behalf of X number of organizations. It wasn't significantly reduced. I don't know if they gave better pricing or not than they normally would. They did. They gave some better, but it wasn't the ideal price of that we could drive it down if we were purchasing that at the state level. So that's just the way from a single purchase. That always makes it, if you understand economics at your district level, buying anything in bulk in a certain period of time drives down costs. If you don't do either one of those, or don't do both of them, it either has no impact on costs or raises costs. So that's a real basic 101. So I know that this was part of the discussion.
No, and I appreciate the questions and Marty chiming in and helping with the answer there. I saw some of that in the Q&A as well. And like you said, we didn't have the leverage perhaps that we might have had if the situation had been different to try to negotiate for certain things. And to the point that I think that was also mentioned is that admin was the focus of the solicitation. So that's where we had to kind of begin with. I appreciate too, David, the view behind the curtain. I think it's good for districts to recognize that some of the same pain points that they have when it's time to reboot devices and worry about users that may be in the middle of other tasks. It's something that we live with as well, and that we've been working on behind the scenes. And so I don't think it's too much inside baseball to point out that we're moving at a pace that's probably quicker than we're comfortable with, and we know devices need to be rebooted. But we also recognize that we can't have Dr. Fletcher's device reboot in the middle of a Super Bowl webcast, for example, and things like that. So some of the same things that districts deal with and will deal with as part of this project, we're working through right now as well, how to automate, what to do for stations that didn't install properly, et cetera.
You call it, and then it's referred to as eating your own dog, but I call it drinking our own champagne, right? So there's two ways you can do it. So this is wonderful.
You've used both.
Just to be clear.
Yeah. So yeah, we go through it and we try to with these major technology implementations that'll touch every district to do it first here, so we can kind of learn on ourselves. It doesn't always please Katie staff when I always say that, but that's why I call drinking your own champagne. I probably use it in front of them, drinking your own champagne versus eating your own dog food. So that plays out a little bit better. Chuck, you're going to update us on the connected user experience system that will impact every computer in all of Kentucky K-12, in every district and all KD organizations.
And every person.
David,
and every person.
Every person. Thank you for that, David. And, as everybody knows, it's a blessed collision of great big things we've got going on all at the same time. So, Jody, thank you. Thank you for that update on internet content management. And at the same time, obviously, we've got another large initiative that we are in process of, the connected user experience. So as all districts should be aware, we launched the data normalization phase right during the holiday period during December. And all districts should really be wrapping that phase up and to the point of preparing to submit that checklist. We've already had about 63 districts or a third of the state do so. But we need the checklist completed and submitted no later than March the 1st, which is about 2 weeks away. All right. Now, here's what I'm going to say to that. I know that many of you are working really hard internally and bringing your teams together, doing your data validation, all the good steps we've identified in that checklist. All right. But your completion of that, because we've modified the checklist slightly, also allows you to select your first and second choices for when you want to implement rapid identity in your district and the migration waves that we have coming. So we really need everybody to wrap that up by March the 1st. Even if you're in process, just make a commitment, make a choice on your migration wave, knowing you're going to continue working down that path. We are also now at the same time entering a super important phase of the initiative, a pilot phase as well, for Qs, as we're doing a pilot phase for ICM at the same time. So I think it's important for folks to understand that the pilot phase is specific for enablement or implementation of rapid identity in your school district. All 16 pilot sites have been identified. Every region is included with multiple representatives, and that phase actually kicked off last Friday individually with Hopkins County. Thank you, Drew Taylor, for volunteering. All pilot sites will kick off between February the 24th and March the 10th, and the duration of that overall phase runs through May the 2nd, as each district will go through a 10 to 12 week staggered process. So overall, we're going to have 4 different implementation waves. We're going to have a spring, summer, fall of 25, and winter of 25, 26 implementation wave, with an expectation or target to be done, I'm going to say April of 26, just to give us a couple of months to clean some things up,
Serve the
wrap some
students of
things up,
Commonwealth.
maybe circle back and pick
Monitor
up
the
some other
validity and
folks,
reliability
which
of
is another reason why we need to go ahead and have districts start selecting which of those waves they want to go in. Just as a reminder, there's going to be a big push at Kisti as we queue up William here in a minute. Identity automation has a dedicated room all day Wednesday, all day Thursday. There's going to be a multitude of sessions specific to the enablement phase. Hopefully, we'll have some great customer testimonies from districts that have started down that path, being able to speak to what they're learning, all right, what processes we need to modify and clean up. And also, something I'm really excited about, as we got to see our STLP superstars a few minutes ago, Marty and I are working with Jeff and Matt and Jim, along with William, to have a student-sponsored presentation specific to Qs at Kisti, which is really all about Qs through the eyes of a student. That experience that we hope to deliver not only to the adults, but just as importantly to our students when we get to an overall identity management framework. So David, that's just a quick update on what we've got going on with Qs.
The other part, I would say, Chuck, you didn't hit upon it, I didn't ask you to, but I know the rapid identity phishing product.
Yeah.
Bob, heck, we talked about that yesterday. That's something we're also very interested in and taking off with immediately to help reduce the probability of a cyber criminal being successful through a phish, given 90% of the successful cyber crimes start with a phishing email. So
no, David, thank you for that. And I'm going to channel Bob Hackworth for a minute as our CISO. All right. But we have some great opportunities. Bob, I don't do your voice justice. All right. But whether it's the CISA scanning engine, whether it's Phish ID, all right, we have some great opportunities with some services and products that cost districts $0, okay, to put some preventative measures in place, identify some possible security gaps that need to be closed. We've got some powerful testimonies from several districts across the state already on Phish ID. And David, to your point, absolutely, it's something here in the next week or two we're going to be implementing within KDE as well. We have a ton of districts that have already signed up for that, have already implemented it. But once again, take advantage of that opportunity because it's just one more layer of protection that could be vital. So thanks for queuing that up, David.
next up is our partnership with districts, the Kentucky Society for Technology Education. Once again, this is unique in the United States, and I value it. The relationship that our Office of Education Technology staff has with districts, I always say, is one of the best in the nation. And I talk with my peers, and not that we can't debate stuff and disagree on some things, but this is a good kind of thing that it takes advantage of everyone's capabilities and listening to it, what they have to say and reacting to that as well, which is part of what we do the CIO Summit for, and even these webcasts. But I would like a chance for William Pierce to kind of talk about the event that's coming up here on the 12th and 14th of March. William is with Jefferson County Public Schools, but he's also the current president of Kisti. So, William.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Yes, I am in JCPS, but officially I've taken that hat off and I'm wearing just the Kisti one for this conversation. So, David, thank you for the opportunity to kind of talk through our conference that's coming up. As you mentioned, it is March 12th through the 14th here in Louisville at the Kentucky International Convention Center. As you alluded, we're very proud to partner with KD yet again, and I think our partnership has been a fantastic one that we certainly hope to continue to build on and mature. We will be returning our CIO Summit as well as our DLC Summit for this iteration for KISTI 25, as we call it, Connecting Minds, Igniting Imagination. And I'll share all this in the chat as well so people can review. But we will have over 400 sessions this year between featured speakers, Kentucky educators, and vendor partners. We have 3 fantastic featured speakers joining us this year. Dr. Monica Burns, really focusing on Gen AI in the classroom. Leslie Fisher, EdTech tools. And Marlo Gaddis, really talking about bolder leadership and cybersecurity perspectives. We're also have some great vendor partners who are coming back this year. Google will be bringing their Gemini experience. If you had the opportunity to attend ISTE this past year, they're actually going to bring that show on the road, and KISTI is going to be one of the first opportunities for us to participate in that. Microsoft and Dell are going to be coming and partnering with us. Microsoft will return to KISTI for the first time since 2019, so that's something that we're really excited about. Apple will be bringing their new Kentucky support team. So they will all be there and hosting sessions. And then again, in allusion to our KD partnership, we're going to have all of our statewide partners there. So Identity Automation will be there, GoGuardian will be there, and Infinite Campus will be there, really talking about, where we are, tips and tricks associated with their products, and really rolling forward. And then in our vendor hall this year, in our Innovated Ed Expo Hall, we have 150 vendors. Some are brand new to the state. They've never had a footprint in, so we definitely highlight everyone kind of going through there. We've really tried to push on the academic side. We heard from a lot of people that they wanted more academic perspective, so we've really made a push in that direction, but our technical folks are still there as well. So that our tech folks still have somebody to go in with. And then last but not least, and I won't dig too deep into it because I don't want to take away, but we will have some fantastic updates coming for KISTI at this conference, both in regard to our member benefits. That's really kind of what we're thinking about. So cohorts and things for KISTI members to participate in throughout the calendar year. Not just focusing on 2 conferences. And then at our closing ceremony, we'll have a huge announcement to share. But again, can't share that yet. You'll have to be there to figure out what that looks like. So.
Thanks, William.
Thank you.
And I appreciate KISTI giving us a chance with the CIO Summit to kind of kick it off a lot of different ways. And I always appreciate, because that's a good place where people are coming in, really seeing each other for the first time, maybe in a long time, from different parts of our state. And just for those that are new to it, I think this is our 12th one that we've done. And it's been, like I say, we appreciate the kickoff of it. And it's a setting to where the agency staff present a couple of topics, and we get 5% of the time is spent for us talking, and 95% of the time is spent on districts talking and sharing information. The other cool thing about it is we have people spread out on a lot of different tables. We have 5 to 8 people on a table, and what you see is you're paired with people from other districts around the state, so you can start building relationships with them if you not already have it, which is a good thing. And we also have a member of our OET staff at those tables, and we're always proud of our OET staff, and it gives you a chance to get to know someone you've probably not interacted with very much, but we're very proud of in leading and facilitating that discussion. So I'm going to ask Marty to kind of tell us about how many people have signed up already, and just talk about the topics that we're considering, either for a summit or a special just one-off that we just talk about these topics. So Marty?
Yeah, thank you, David. And William, just a huge high five to the KISTI leadership team. As we know, it's a job on top of a job that's definitely volunteer, passion driven. You will see our KISTI leadership team buzzing around the event. When you do, give them a high five. Tell them thank you for the energy and the effort that they're putting into the conference. As David mentioned, no other state does it like we do it. And a lot of it is our huge partnership with KISTI as our premier EdTech organization in the state. And so we're super excited again this year. David, we have right now about 82% of our CIOs who have already registered to be live in the CIO Summit. And we've worked really strategically with William and the KISTI leadership team to get to make sure that that registration is driven either for a one-day attendance. If you can come to the CIO Summit and you've yet to identify whether you can make it or not, a one-day registration to KISTI, stay, engage in some sessions after the summit, engage in the partner hall after the summit, definitely do that, or the full registration to be at the event, build those relationships. It's such a shining star for Kentucky and for what we're trying to do in education technology. So no other state does it like we do. And the summit, as you mentioned, David, we pull topics from our annual feedback, and we pull from interacting at the regional level. Our KE team and our field staff team and our program area leads are nonstop trying to get these really interesting topics that we can have at the CIO Summit. And we also want to make sure to emphasize the importance of the feedback. Every year after the summit, we pull that feedback together. The last couple of years, we've been able to immediately that day share it back out to everyone who's been in attendance. But you can track the action that is driven from the summit conversations, whether it's project related. I know that we were able to push on the CISA external network vulnerability scanning after the CIO Summit topic in the previous years. Q's major decisions were made after the CIO Summit. So I just want to emphasize the importance of the discussion, the feedback. As you said, we have an OET member at the table, but their role is just to keep the conversation going. They're pretending they know nothing about the topic. And so they're capturing the feedback, they're facilitating the conversations as they move forward. So we have several topics that we want to introduce. I'm getting ready to launch a poll question that will pop up on your screen. As a reminder, we're no longer using Go Soapbox for polls in our live webcast. We're using the poll function inside of Teams. So that's going to pop up on your screen. And you're going to get to select multiple topics that you feel like are best positioned, that can help you, that can help your region, that can help your district activity that you have going on, and then certainly big picture statewide. The topics are, and David, we spent some time earlier today on the additional budget request, what all that means, how that conversation can be led with superintendents, CFOs, potential lobbyists from our partners. That's one topic that you'll get to give some feedback on today. An additional topic is the impact of the expiring ESSER funds. Those things are kind of connected, obviously, budget related, but a couple of different driving questions there. A topic on artificial intelligence in K-12, specifically diving into the SREB Commission and policy recommendations that we are finding super valuable, as well as our guidance brief that we will continue to iterate on. So that's a topic. And again, we're not presenting, we're launching some really important questions. So driving discussion and driving feedback.
So part of that is I attended the SREB Southern Region Education Board AI committee last week. Mm-hmm. They have their sixth, or now they just launched their seventh recommendations. We'd like the feedback on that. They've launched the 4 pillars of how to use AI in instruction in the classroom. And they identified how AI can be used in the workforce. Great information, but also what is the Kentucky flavor of that that we'd like the feedback on. I know this will be the 3rd straight year that we like to have it, but this is a topic that probably deserves a 3rd straight year, given that it's constantly evolving and getting more in depth. And I think getting that feedback again for the 3rd straight year would be valuable from districts on what's already out there.
And we're thankful, David, that you've had a seat at that table with SREB through that commission, and bringing that home to Kentucky to experience that additional growth and evolution of artificial intelligence in our classrooms and in our schools and districts is perfect. Is a good topic to consider. Another topic is and it's already been mentioned, but cybersecurity shortfall in our districts and statewide. Next topic for you to kind of nudge on and think about is the internet safety and security regulation updates and modernizations that need to occur. And so we've got some draft work there that we would love some feedback on. Relaunching our new digital learning guidelines. These guidelines have been in place for a while, and they are included and embedded in superintendent's assurances, but we are going to relaunch the digital learning guidelines. In fact, we have a session already scoped out that's in the matrix, in the session matrix that the KISTI team has published. So there's discussion and questions that we would like from our EdTech leaders on that. Next is developing, and this is a new idea, but developing potentially a statewide technical learning coach network. So a technical learning network, similar to how Laura Raganos is leading our digital learning coach network across the state. But this big idea, and this is pulled from our annual feedback that we receive, our 360-degree feedback. And then two more topics. External third-party review for data sharing agreements and student data privacy. That topic, we feel like we've pulled from some additional feedback, but that could be an interesting discussion topic. And then finally, a discussion and feedback on transitions from legacy systems like Active Directory and Trellis, which we've mentioned already in the budget conversation, but some potential feedback there, David, I think could be interesting. Now, we will not have time for all these topics. We want to get your feedback today. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and launch the poll. And if we do not choose one of these topics for the CI Summit, we're planning to have special webcast, special topics
just on that topic, yeah.
On that topic specifically. Yeah. So you should see that poll pop, jump up on your screen. And we'd love your feedback.
Yeah, the first one would be, let's talk about the budget part. Mm-hmm. We know ESSER money is ending. Yep. You heard me go through the additional budget request to bring it up to 30 million. It would be a discussion around the tables is what's realistic that districts can do, the district CIO can do, and role they can play of trying to get this on the radar screen of their CFO and superintendent for their equivalent, just like our commissioner rates it in the top 5.
That's right.
Their equivalent superintendent to rate it in the top 5. And then what are the other options that we can talk about with lobbying? Lobbying takes a bunch of different forms, but it can be individual. I know years ago we had actually district CIOs that were helping us lobby the legislature, but companies and organizations. So definitely want what's a realistic thing to help get it over this edge. It's gotten close, but I really think the piece it has to be is the superintendents and their discussions with legislators are doing it, and also someone from the lobbyist angle, some kind of angle working that, so to get the feedback on doing that.
And David, we have about 50 responses so far, and people are agreeing with you on that. So these responses are coming in. Please, we're now jumped up to 62 responses. Would love to hit that 100 mark if we can, as we have 206 folks in.
The cybersecurity shortfall is another one that is of interest. It's
leading right now, by the way.
Yeah, CIOs are overwhelmed with, and we all are. With the scale I tell folks is 10 years ago, 5 years, I didn't have to spend near amount of time on cybersecurity that I have to do now. And I get actually tired of talking about it so much, but just like our Katie leadership team meeting, yesterday, I'm always having to work in something related to cybersecurity associated with that. So we know that it's an avalanche. And so what kind of things can districts share? What things can we do at the state level to make it easier for them? Yeah. And there's a lot of services we have, but what can we do to help you out with that? And what are some tips about how districts can help themselves? Yep. So I think that's a good discussion and then just a recognition of the avalanche.
And I said this, but just to and we're getting close to 100 responses. This was multiple selection, so it wasn't just one. So if you thought 3 of those topics really fit the need for you, then make sure to tap all 3 of those or 4 or whatever fits. So, all right, David, thank you. You can hit that X.
Yeah, the digital learning guidelines, I'll just say that comes up a lot even today, whether they are. I know we're having that. The Internet Safety and Security Reg, we just got just a few, I guess a week ago, got approved to continue on what we have, but we know we got to make some changes to that for the growth of that in the future. And the part 2 in here, and all these are tough to just let go, is this, whenever I go to KISTI, there is that meeting of the technical staff down in the room. Region 2 leads that. is what can we do to do that statewide?
In a sustainable.
In a sustainable way in all the regions across the state. The data sharing one is one that doesn't sound like, oh, that's so fun, but it's a big one now that we have. We can combine that with cybersecurity of cyber attackers targeting education organizations as their number one target. That's for real. We're the number one target. What do we do when we're sharing that with other organizations? What kind of things need to be put in place? The AI committee has added that one as one of the ones that they want to add too, is how does AI relate to the data sharing? And I would say is the AD and Trellix discussion, I would say is a very technical one.
Right.
That probably to me is one that would be better at its own event,
Special topic.
especially as we get closer to those, is what needs to be taken consideration, but we don't want to wait till the last second at the same time to have this AD transition and this Trellix succession done. So this is not an immediate one, but it's one in the near future. So thanks for that.
Awesome.
Thanks for that. And I appreciate everyone joining us today. I don't think we have anything that I've seen so far that we need to add additionally to it. So I hope to see all of you very soon at KISTI. And thanks once again for joining us today. Take care.